What's going on, YouTube modeling community? Pappy here at West Georgia Rods and Customs. My buddy Mark Batson over at Hobby Dude 007 posted a video this week regarding to what is some of your tools that you use in whether you're going building just the general shelf model, or if you're building all out to take to a show, and what tools do you use to do so. So, watched a lot of everyone's video. I've seen Mark's, I've seen LC's over at the Lucas C channel. I've seen a lot of other folks posting their stuff. They all hit on a lot of things, and what I've got right here on my bench right now are some of the common tools that I like to use. Just whether I'm building something that's going to sit on my shelf or something that's going to sit, that's going to a show that'll be show quality. Uh, some of the things that I like using, and I use most of what you see sitting here on the bench right now in every one of my builds. But this is a great question, that's went out to the content creators of YouTube that builds models that can help, whether you're a seasoned veteran or whether you're just getting into the hobby. But this is stuff that you're going to acquire. Tools like this. It's taken me quite a while to acquire most of the tools I've got on this bench. But it's some of the stuff that I've had from, say, other hobbies, actual, stuff that I've used on jobs and stuff. But a lot of this right here is just all model related. But I'm gonna hit on everything that I've got right here. So this is gonna be a little bit of a lengthy video, but just bear with me. I'm gonna try to make it as painful or as painless, not painful, but painless as I can make it. But first thing that I'm gonna show everyone is a lot of times what I like to do, whether if I'm kit bashing or things like that, if I'm trying to make a good straight cut, this miter box, I've picked this up and I've got a miter saw right here, which is it's got the X-Acto handle on it. You can make just different angles, cuts, whether it's styrene, you can do the straight cuts with it. But this is very handy, cutting either styrene, plastic, little wood parts. I mean, that's one thing. You can even cut the K&S tubing with this. So I like having this pretty handy here on the bench, and this is one of my go-to cutting devices that I like to use. So, and just like Mark said also in the start of his video, a lot of these tools are very sharp. Yes, you can cut yourself with these. So please be very careful in using these, and don't. And I know there a lot of you guys and gals out there, if you've got small kids around, this is something you don't want them to be picking up off your workbench and playing with. So be very mindful. Not let the toddlers, whether it's your children, grandchildren, great grandchildren, get a hold of this stuff, because it is very sharp and it can cause some harm to you. So, but this is one thing that I like to use. We're going to start off talking about that one with this. The second thing, in which involves cutting. If you've got maybe a raw edge on a piece of styrene, tubing, anything like that, having a set of files, which Mark hit on not too long ago on his videos. I've got some of these up here. I've got a magnetic device right here on my bench that makes everything pretty handy. So, but having a set of, a metal, some of these nice little needle files, as I like to call them, I've got just a various assortment of those up here on my on my magnetic bent holder right here. Having some of these sanding sticks right here, I keep an assortment of anything from, say, 100 grit. These are 800 grit. These are 320 grit. So anything that you cut with, whether, you've got a piece of styrene, piece of aluminum, brass rod, anything like that you've cut with that saw I just showed you a minute ago, you can clean most of this up with some of these sanding sticks and files like that. So I'll set that off to the side. And talking about cutting things, another thing that I just picked this up this year. This is a great tool. It's got two different serrated edges right here on this. This is it's made, golly, I can't even read this. I'll try to find emkits.com, EMKKITS.com. This is a little cutting tool, and it's good. A lot of the aircraft guys use this to cut surfaces, try to cut a elevator surface or a rudder surface out, or even just, scribing the panel lines with it. I find it very handy just cutting. It's better to have a tool, not use it, and then to need it and not have it. So that's my theory on that. But I picked this up last year at Hobbytown, USA, and it's just got a nice little handle to it. It's got I forget how many teeth this is, but it's got and it's a very thin kerf as well. So I've been using that quite a lot here in the shop. So if you've got a question on any of the tools that I'm going to show y'all, drop me a link down there, or drop me a question down there in the message, and I'll try to answer them as quickly as possible. But another thing, and we're talking about, after we've made cuts or what have we, this is another thing that I use this just religiously itself. This is just a small Dremel micro tool right here. Very handy. It's rechargeable, so it'll go anywhere from, let's see, how many RPMs? This thing goes from 5,000 to 28,000 RPMs at just a click of a button. And it's got an interchangeable bit chuck right here that you can change out. And that's I'm going to dive off into something else that I've got over here to the right of me that I use a lot. But this is a very handy tool. You can pick these up you can pick them up just about any home improvement store, Home Depot, Lowe's. Harbor Freight has them. It's not actually a Dremel, but they've got a comparable version of this that's a lot cheaper than buying the actual Dremel name. So, but I keep that on my bench as well. That's one of the things that I like to use. Talking about the Dremels, I picked this up at Home Depot, I forget how many years ago. But having this in my little arsenal right here, I use just about everything that's on here for some fashion or form. It's got an assortment of drill bits, just different shapes of abrasive stones for grinding. It's even got some wire buffers right here. I hardly ever use them, but I keep them right there just in case. But it's got sanding. These are very abrasive right here. You can change them out if you want to get a piece of styrene ground down. This is a cutting tool. This is one of the Dremel. You can change this out very quickly once you get it chucked in. You can these cutting discs are they're disposable, but also, and in the realm of safety again, if you're using a Dremel tool or a high-speed Dremel tool like this, always have some sort of have some safety goggles, some safety glasses on, because if one of these ever breaks, trust me, I've been at the mercy of one of these when it broke, and let's just say it hit me in the cheek, and it just put a nice little cut in my cheek right there. So either a face mask, a cover, face shield, or something like that. But definitely, you're only born with two eyes, so try to take care of both of those, and wear some safety glasses when using those. Let me get this set out of the way here. As y'all know, I work on a very small bench, and so my space is kind of limited right here, but I'm going to try to do the best I can showing y'all some of this stuff. Once you make a cut, let's not talk about making a cut. If you want to measure, I know Mark hinged on this earlier, and this is probably one of the handiest devices I've ever used. I've used these a lot, just even in my daily work at where I work at. These are vernier. I call them. I've heard them called vernier or vernier or what have you. But these are just a set of dial calipers right here that are just so handy. You can turn them on, zero them out, and if you wanted to measure, let's measure this right here. You can stretch it out, and there you are, 4 inches, 10 thousandths. So that gives you, and you can take these edges right here, you can measure inside with them. So these are just very handy things to have around the shop, especially when you're trying to take a measurement on a cut and cut it precisely, and then get it sanded down to where it fits on that build. So having these on hand, that you can pick these up. Now, matter of fact, I bought these at Harbor Freight not too long ago because my other ones puked out and quit working, and I think I bought these for under $20. So very handy to have these in your shop as well. Let's see. Talking about cutting, some of the things I like to have around are some sharp scissors. I picked these up at I think at a hobby show, and these are very small ones. These are great for cutting just about anything. You don't want to cut styrene with it, but these are great to have around for like cutting tape, cutting. You can cut thin styrene sheet with it. I will say that, and they fit my fingers very well. So you've got a lot of control with what you're trying to cut with it. So, but these are handy to have right here. I always keep these on the magnetic strip right here. That way they're at my beck and call when I need them. A set of talking about scissors. I keep a great big set of these Fiskars scissors handy. These right here will cut styrene. These will cut styrene like there's no tomorrow. So having you a good set of these laying around on the bench is always handy as well. Talking about let's talk about tape. I know that we haven't talked about tapes. I keep various tapes on my bench. Anything from the 3M tape right here, which this is the 2-inch wide stuff, and you've got a pretty good amount right there. And that's another thing when I peel mine off. I don't tear it off. I'll take the scissors and cut it. And I use this a lot in painting. And what I do is when I'm painting, say some parts, there's always been that question that's popped out: do you paint on the sprue or off the sprue? I take everything off of the sprue. I never leave it on. So I'll just take it and I'll cut that right there. And these are some of the handiest things I've got a box of them. I bought about like 1,000 of them one time, but all they are, they're craft sticks. And I call them craft sticks, popsicle sticks, wherever you have you. And if I want to hold a part or something like that, I'll take and cut off about a 2-inch by 2-inch piece off of that 3M tape. I fold it over one more time, just like that. And if I've got a part or something, let me find a part right here. This is something I'm working on right now. If I wanted to spray a part and it's only going to be sprayed on one side, boom, I just stick it there. It don't fall off. I can take it over to the paint booth, do my work on it, stick it up in I keep some styrofoam. It's got slots put in. I just stick that up in there, and we're good to go. We're golden with that. So let's see. We're talking about clamps and stuff like that, or things to stick on. I keep a multitude of various small clamps. These little bitty clamps right here, you can buy these at any home improvement store. I know I bought these at Home Depot. I think Lowe's has them as well. They're like, I want to say they're like either 75 cents or $1 a piece, and I've got a bunch of them sitting over here. I probably got 20 of them. But these are always handy. They're very good, to hold something, whether you've got it epoxied or trying to hold something together while you get that quick set glue on it. I picked these up at Harbor Freight right here. These are plastic ones, and they've got a great amount of holding power to those as well. And I think I bought about 20 of these. I probably got about 40 of these laying around the bench right here. So those are always handy to have. Another thing that I like, and showing you earlier about these popsicle sticks, it's always when you're painting, and I've got tons. I've probably got 100 of these little bitty alligator clips right here. When I'm painting stuff out in the garage or out in the paint booth, if I wanted to paint that right there, I can clip that on there, take it out there, spray it, take that styrofoam that I was talking about earlier, stick it down in it, and let it dry, and then you're ready to rock and roll with that. So that's you can buy these. I think I bought these at Hobby Lobby. Was the last bag of them I bought. I think you get like 20 for like $3 or $4. These are well worth the money. So I always try to use. I keep a nice supply of them sitting over here in the in a little canister right here. We get to the part of we've already, I was showing you differences of tapes and stuff. These are Tamiya tapes that I buy. I pick these up at the hobby shop. They come in different widths. I've got anything. I think these are, I want to say this is 1 inch, this is 1/2 inch. And I've got some others, which I'll show you as well. These are different. I've anything from like very thin pinstripe tapes right there, all the way to to that right there. And I've actually got 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 4 different sizes in this canister right here. So having these on hand when you're starting to lay out some tape, these are actually great to hold parts when I'm mocking up. I do a lot of mock up, and I use various tapes in holding like a body to the frame and so forth like that. So having you some tape that's good quality tape is always a must on my bench at least. Let me see. Boy, I'm starting to get things crowded right here, so we're going to start talking a little bit faster. It's hard for no Southern boy to talk fast. But we're talking about, we've talked about cutting, taping things, painting. Let's talk about we're starting to get down to the painting part. And having having an assortment of Q-tips. I always, these are kind of the round-butted Q-tips. I can buy these at any, you can buy these just about at any drugstore, anything like that. And these are great to have around. You can also cut these tips off or cut this little wood piece right here, and I use this to stir epoxy with when I'm mixing epoxy. You can always cut it off and keep shortening it until you get. But you've got that great. I use these a lot when I'm doing bare metal foil. This one, and I use the Tamiya. These Tamiya Q-tips. You've got different, as you can tell right here, I've got 2 different sizes right here. I got it, and they're pointed. These are good for like burnishing the edges down for bare metal foil. I've even used these when I'm gluing something. If I put CA glue on the end of a part or something, and I'm trying to get it to stick, down in there. Once I touch that CA glue to where I want it, I'll dip this down in some accelerator, soak up some of that accelerator, and just touch it. And when it does, when you touch it where your CA glue's at, it instantly bonds that to whatever that surface you're trying to glue it to. So having different size of these Q-tips around, this is always great to have around in the shop as well. Pipettes, which we're talking about paints and stuff. These pipettes, you can get these, you can order them on Amazon. You can pick them up at hobby shops. I know Michaels carries them, Hobby Lobby carries them, but using these to transfer paint or thinner or anything like that from, say, the canister, from whatever you're pulling paint out of into your airbrush. It's always great to have these around. They're disposable. You can buy these things by the 100. Or if you're trying to thin out some paint, into a little container, and they got graduated numbers out into it, so you know what you're pulling out as far as a thinner if you're trying to achieve a certain ratio on a paint or something. So you can kind of make sure that you've got it thinned out just the way you want it. But these pipettes, these are great to have as well. One of the things, and for years I've always I just went to the expense of buying me a paint stir. I used to just take and just stir it around with an old toothpick. Toothpicks have always been. This is another thing. They're kind of multi-use around my workbench. You can use these for either applying glue, removing something. You're trying to get a certain area of paint off or something like that. But having a sharp point, I use these in doing bare metal foil as well, trying to get that edge down through there with them. But there's just multi-use for toothpicks. You applying glue, stirring paint, stirring epoxy, just anything like that. But I always keep a nice little supply. I keep them in an old pill bottle up here on my workbench with just full of toothpicks. And then too, if I'm sitting right here, I got something in, something I want to, if I'm sitting here eating or something, I'd be like, sometimes I'd sit with a toothpick in my mouth all the time. So anyway, but having toothpicks around the bench is very handy as well. So talking about mixing paint, this is one of the things I bought one of these from the hobby shop not too long ago, and this is just and I've really started using it a lot and mixing a lot of these paints and stuff. If some of my paints have set for a while, you can either shake them or you can instead of shaking them, you can just pop that lid open, stick this down in there, and turn that thing on, and it will stir that thing up, stir that paint up, and get it mixed up in just a minute. And once you pull it out, you just take and clean it off with a a rag or something, or a paper towel, something like that, and then stick that down into your into a bottle of lacquer thinner. And I always keep lacquer thinners and around where I can just stick it down in there, turn it on, and it cleans all that paint off. And this thing, I've used it several times in the shop, and there's not a stitch of paint still left on that. And then you can wipe it off, and then you go. I always keep a good clean. I always save a lot of my these old tester bottles. I can I can go out there in the shop and fill this thing up multiple times with lacquer thinner. That way I keep a good, when it gets dirty, I just take it out there and I pour it into a little container and refill this back up from a big jar of lacquer thinner out there in the shop. So having that on hand and having this on hand when you're painting is it's just a blessing to have it. Let's see. That's pretty. Boy, I tell you what, I've pretty much well cleared off a lot of things on this bench. One of the things, and I know having different types or different sizes of paintbrushes I've got paintbrushes, and I buy them all of my paintbrushes from Hobby Lobby over in the paintbrush section. Buying a good paintbrush. My dad used to have a saying: if you want to do good quality work, buy a good quality tool, and don't buy an old cheap paintbrush to do a quality job with, because you're only going to get as good a quality job out of that paintbrush as it's going to allow you. But I've got different types of paintbrushes. This one right here, these are called the Master's Touch. And these they're a little expensive. They're a little pricey, but I always like using these. But I've got just different. If you can see right there, I got different types. I got pointed ones. I got flat bristle. As far as you can paint a good flat edge right there. Each one of these paintbrushes have a different function here in the shop, what I'm trying to do. That one's got it's a very fine, this is a 20 aught point right here. This is doing some very fine detail work if I'm trying to. But if you take care of these, they'll take care of you in that result of the paint job you're trying to do. But pushing that off to the side right there. And I'm going to leave everyone with not only I'm showing you tools that y'all are going to be using in a lot of your builds. I'm going to show y'all a little trick that I like to do. And I use this on my bench all the time. I don't know, and I know y'all probably do. This is just one sheet of a paper towel. And you can either use that whole sheet right there to wipe brushes off or what have you. But I don't know. I guess I'd probably pinch a nickel to the buffalo hollers around here because I'm kind of thrifty. What I do is I'll take this sheet right here and I will cut up little squares. And I'm going to show y'all what I do. And we're going to use one of the tools that I showed y'all. You just take the old scissors that you've got right here, fold this one little square, and I'm going to show you what you can reap with this one paper towel, and you'll be amazed, and it'll actually save you some money, but you won't be using as many paper towels. It don't take very much to do, and all I'm doing is I'm folding this each time in half. I just keep folding it down and I'll show y'all the end result and how many different I call them towelettes, because that's basically about all they are. It's just a small towelette. And out of that one sheet right there, and I keep a bunch of them tucked over here in the corner of my workbench. And that one sheet yields all that right there. And these are, and I keep them stacked up over here in the corner of my workbench right here. So if I'm mixing some epoxy, I want something to wipe off a little glue dab or something like that, or if I'm cleaning out one of my paintbrushes and such, I'll just once I clean it out, I'll take it and I'll dab it and just clean it up. And I'd rather be throwing this away and getting rid of this than I had one big old piece of paper towel. So, but these are just some handy items I like too. But this is one of the tips that I want to share with everyone that I always say that if you're trying, you're wanting to up your game on the model, as far as carrying them bills to the next level, hopefully this will help you out. And I know, really appreciate Mark jumping in there and sharing that question with everyone, to all the content creators here on YouTube. And maybe hopefully you see something on here that you'll go, gosh, man, I cannot live without that. I got to go get that tool. Because I seen something that Mark had on his bench, and I've already asked him about where he got it at. And you can bet your money I'm going and pick that thing up, and it'll be in my arsenal as well. Anyhow, hope this finds everybody well. Everybody's having a great Sunday afternoon. I'm going to get a little bit more bench time in, but remember what I always say, folks, if you can dream it, build it. God bless y'all. Happy out of here.